What's going on, guys, and welcome back to my Friday Night SmackDown audio review for Friday, June 4th, 2021. I am Graham G. Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great weekend. I thought this was another quality edition of SmackDown on the whole, definitely carried by the Roman Reigns stuff. You take that part out of the show, not as strong of a show. And I usually do enjoy SmackDown. I thought this was an enjoyable edition on the whole. But with the recent releases of Ruby Riott, that being definitely apparent on the show, with Liv Morgan going at it alone against Carmella, and the release of Aleister Black, which to me makes absolutely no sense when you just brought him back for a feud against Big E, who was not on the show. So clearly they have no idea what to do with Big E in Aleister Black's absence. You have nothing for that guy to do. He's already feuded with Apollo Crews. He's already feuded with Sami Zayn. What more is there for Big E to do now, if not go for the Universal Championship, which I still think it's too soon for? Maybe SummerSlam, but it's still June. So what do you do with him in the interim? That's the problem. But anyway, I thought this was a good show. You take out the Roman Reigns, Usos stuff, not as strong of a show, but it was enjoyable on the whole. So speaking of Roman Reigns, he did kick off the show. I'm not a big fan of wrestling shows starting with talking segments, but when it's Roman Reigns, I'm willing to make an exception, because the guy is just that good on the mic right now. Killing it with this character. I'm enjoying everything he's doing. I'm always invested in whatever Roman Reigns is involved in as the tribal chief. So basically, the promo was kept short and sweet. He brought out the Usos, essentially just put them on notice, because they had their SmackDown Tag Team title opportunity on the show, warning them, listen, if you don't come up, if you fall short here, if you come up short and fail to become the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, and help us fulfill our prophecy, our legacy of becoming all champions simultaneously, there's going to be hell to pay, basically. And there's still the bad blood being teased, the tension being teased between the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, as well as Roman Reigns. So it's a great little, triangle, not a love triangle, that'd be fucking weird with them being all family, but you know what I'm saying, with all three guys having issues with one another. Jay, obviously siding with Roman, but wanting to side with Jimmy, wanting to bring everyone together. Jimmy still has hesitations of following Roman Reigns' orders. Roman Reigns wants to all work together, but realizes Jimmy isn't falling in line. There's a lot of issues there. So, with that being said, they kicked off the show with that segment. They immediately segued right into the SmackDown Tag Team title match. Rey and Dominik Mysterio against the Usos. I was surprised initially they didn't save it for the main event slot until I realized they were running it back later on in the show. So clearly they had just done this to kill television time, which tells you how shallow, the SmackDown roster currently is. You could have filled this time with an Aleister Black Big E match, but you had to go ahead and fire Aleister Black, so they ran the same match twice in the same show. Don't get me wrong, it was a good match. I enjoyed seeing them work together. They had a very good match later on in the show as well, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense as to why you would do the same match twice unless it was to kill television time. So, they do the match here. It ends with Mysterio's picking up a fluky win, with Dominik pinning one of the Usos, I think it was Jimmy actually, with the roll-up, but his shoulder was clearly up. They showed the replay, and even the commentators agreed. Obviously, Pat McAfee's going to agree, because Roman Reigns walked out at the start of the show, and he said that he was the greatest wrestler of all time. So, I don't know if I would exactly go with Pat McAfee's judgment on this, but no, they were right. His shoulder was clearly up before the referee hit 3, and the commentator said, well, the referee's decision is final, or at least Michael Cole said that. The referee's decision is final, so they won, blah, blah, blah. Which is the absolute dumbest thing, because we have seen finishes before where the referee sees the instant replay on the Titantron, on the big screen, and then will restart the match because he saw that they cheated. How many fucking times have we seen that finish in this company? But they only utilize that when it's convenient for them. So they just move right along. It did lead to another tag team title match, as I said later on in the show, which tells me that this first match was all about just, killing time. Because I'm figuring, okay, if they do the same match twice, and the Usos lose twice, which is questionable, but even if they do it twice, then maybe it's leading to Roman Reigns getting pissed with Jimmy, going off on him, and that leads to Roman and Jimmy at Hell in a Cell. Clearly, that's not the direction they're going in, at the end of the show is any indication, which I'll get to in a moment. But they just did it again, I assume, just to kill time. And also remember this, too, because after the Usos complained to management, that being Sonya and Adam Pearce, Adam Pearce told the Mysterios, hey, we're going to do the rematch tonight and have them get their opportunity at the tag team titles tonight and not wait until next week or a pay-per-view or whatever. So remember that the next time they say, oh, the so-and-so cheated, there was interference, let's settle this next week. Like recently with the example of Kofi Kingston and Drew McIntyre. They had their number one contenders match a week or two ago, interrupted by Bobby Lashley. And it wasn't the main event either, it was the beginning of the freaking show. They did it at the beginning of the show, Bobby Lashley got involved, and they set up the rematch for the following week. And that's a 3-hour show! This is a 2-hour show. They had like an hour to prepare, did the Mysterios, to defend their titles again. How is that fair? For something that wasn't even their fault. That's the referee's fault. So, that didn't make a whole lot of sense, but we'll get back to that later. Our first and only women's match on the show, and we had another women's segment that I'll get to, but we only had one women's match on the show, and which shouldn't be too surprising considering that SmackDown, I don't know if you guys saw this, but coming off the releases on Friday, SmackDown only has 7 active women on their roster. 7, not counting Sonya Deville, who I don't count. She hasn't wrestled since SummerSlam. She hasn't, she's been on the show since January, but we haven't seen her in action since August, and she hasn't wrestled at all. So I don't really count her, but it counts the 2 women that were involved in this match, Carmella and Liv Morgan. Ruby Riott got released. They released Billie Kay back in April, so she's no longer on the roster. Mickie James, I thought, was either on Raw or going to SmackDown, but she got released. And Chelsea Green was supposed to report to SmackDown. She got canned. Santana Garrett got canned this past week. She was probably going to set the debut on SmackDown. Mia Yim reportedly for months now has been, scheduled apparently to debut on SmackDown. Although that might not be the company's fault, because the current Keith Lee situation. So she might be home tending to him. That might have something to do with her as well. So that doesn't overly surprise me, but she has yet to debut on SmackDown. But so the only 7 women that we have on SmackDown currently are Carmella, Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, Bayley. And Sasha, by the way, has not been seen since right after WrestleMania. So technically they only have 6 women. And Sasha's obviously coming back at some point, probably right after either Hell in a Cell or Money in the Bank to set up the SummerSlam rematch. I don't know. But they have those 5 women and then Natalya and Tamina. That is literally it. And they gave Carmella and Liv Morgan all of 2 minutes here. Now, I'm not saying it should have gone 10 minutes and been this instant classic barn burner or whatever, this 5-star Matt classic, because you absolutely know it wouldn't have been. But it was just kind of a throwaway match. They both had like the, screen promos beforehand. Didn't cut them on a live mic, which might have been for the better. Carmella's doing this gimmick now where she calls herself the most beautiful, women's wrestler or the most beautiful person in all of WWE. Liv Morgan disagreed during her promo, but she lost anyway, so I guess what does her opinion matter? And, I don't know, just something was weird to me about utilizing Liv Morgan 2 days after her partner got released. I know she was on the show last week, but, they didn't use the Riot Squad for months. They bring them back for a week. They lose to Natalya and Tamina. They release Ruby, keep Liv, and then use Liv on her own. And it's not even like she won. It's not like, oh, Ruby Riot's gone now, we can push Liv Morgan on her own. And I've never been the biggest Liv Morgan fan. She has improved. But they have, let's face it, they have never shown any interest in pushing Liv Morgan. Ever. Not even as part of the Riot Squad. They never even won the friggin' tag team titles. But, they had their opportunities to push this woman in 2019 when she broke off on her own. They didn't do anything with her then. She came over to Raw, did this stuff with Lana, which was terrible. They had their chance to push her then, did nothing with her. Reunite the Riot Squad. They never won the tag team titles. They lost the majority of their matches. They have done nothing. They did nothing with them either. So I honestly don't believe, unless the belt goes back to a heel Sasha Banks, that they're also going to do anything with Liv on SmackDown. She's probably just there to lose to all these other women and serve as a stepping stone for the Biancas and, the Baileys and the Carmellas and probably the Sashas and people like that. Which is a shame because, again, you only have 7 women. You might as well make the most of it. But whatever, I guess. So Carmella wins. Probably protecting her for a future feud with Bianca Belair. I speculated that when she beat Ruby Riott a couple of weeks ago. That would seem to be the direction they're going in with those women. Because I don't know what else you do with Carmella. I mean, she was involved in the title picture for a while when she first came back for 3 months. Lost every opportunity that she had. And she's done absolutely nothing since then. Her and Bianca is a fresh feud. Maybe it's the interim feud between Bianca and Sasha at SummerSlam. Maybe. I'm just not really sure where these wins for Carmella are going unless she's being built up for a title opportunity at some point this summer. So speaking of Bianca and Bayley, they had a segment right after this. Bianca out to talk about, her struggles and her past and her experience and her history, which I thought was a very good promo. Bianca, I don't know if it is scripted or if they're just having her talk off the cuff. I mean, it's definitely, there is a scripted nature to all these promos, but, she's a natural at all this stuff, and she's definitely improved at the talking element of this, and she's one of the few women from NXT where, yeah, she was lost in the shuffle for a while last year before she really found her footing on SmackDown and won the Rumble and won the championship and whatnot. But she hasn't been ruined by, the terrible promos. Like Rhea Ripley, for example, her promos are just not good. I don't know if it's a Raw thing or apparently it's the same people writing both shows, which makes absolutely no sense to me. But Bianca's promos have not really been that bad. I thought this was pretty good. Bayley's promos are good. She's a great heel. The forced laughter is just terrible. I hate Sasha Banks' heel laugh too, but Bayley's is just, it might be even worse. It doesn't get heel, the Sasha one is oh, she's just annoying, whatever. Bayley is oh my God, just stop. I just want to change the channel. It's so bad. It's so forced. But I thought this was a fine back and forth, nothing overly exciting about it, but, they had Bayley laughing in all the Thunderdome screens and whatever. So, they set up the match for Hell in a Cell. Basically, the unique aspect of the segment was that it was Bianca challenging Bayley to a rematch at Hell in a Cell because she felt that, Bayley's been whining since WrestleMania Backlash that Bianca cheated to win. She's like, all right, listen, I'll prove that I could beat you fair and square, which she already has. But they're going to do it one more time. They're going to do it one more time at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So after that, we got yet another match between King Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura. Listen, I'm super stoked that they're actually doing something with Nakamura and he's on the show in a regular role. But how is this benefiting anyone? I love the Rick Boogs connection. It's great that he's on the show. They're actually doing something with him. I think he adds an element to the Nakamura entrance, which I hope they keep by the time fans come back. And I would say, oh, yeah, we're so close to fans coming back that, of course, he's going to be there. But, Adnan Virk lasted all of 6 weeks. So, things are so short in this company that you never know if they might just, go in a completely different direction in the next 6 weeks. But anyway, I think he adds something to the Nakamura act. I like that pairing. The feud itself, feuding over the stupid crown, is just a complete waste of time. It's a fine mid-card feud, but at this point, Corbin has go-away heat with so many people that it's impossible to care about almost anything this guy is involved in. Literally, you look at almost any feud this guy's had in the last year or two, with the likes of Roman Reigns first and foremost, because that feud was terrible. But he feuded with, Matt Riddle for a time. I thought that was fine because it helped elevate Riddle. He picked up a big win on pay-per-view over Corbin. Big quote-unquote, but, I thought that was fine. But his feud with Elias, for example, early last year, who could possibly give two craps about that? Who has Corbin even feuded with since then? He was feuding with the Mysterios for a week or two. That went absolutely nowhere. They took him off the show for a while. He wasn't even at WrestleMania. And this is the same guy, by the way, that beat Kurt Angle and retired him 2 years ago. And the thing is that I'm one of the few, I'm not sure if I'm among a few, but I'm a Corbin defender. I think he is good. It's just how they've booked him, and the King crap is just terrible. The fact they're even still doing the King crap is beyond me. They have run longer with the King crap with Corbin than they have with anyone else they've ever given the King of the Ring crown to over the last 30 years. I know some people even Booker T, his wasn't really that bad, but even he only ran with it for a year and a half. Corbin, as of September, which is in only 3 months, by the way, will have been King of the Ring. He's still the King of the Ring, but doing the gimmick consistently for close to a year. That's just terrible. That is just terrible. So, the match was whatever. It was only a few minutes. Nakamura losing. Again, how does this benefit anybody? If you're giving Nakamura straight wins over Corbin and protecting him for Roman at some point, maybe at the July pay-per-view, that's one thing. But clearly they're not even doing that because he's already lost to Corbin twice now. It's 2 Corbin, Nakamura 1. So, just how anyone can even care about this, I have no idea. Again, it's nice to see Nakamura back on the show, but this whole feud doesn't really inspire a lot of confidence that they're going to be protecting Nakamura for a future Universal Championship opportunity come the summertime. We had an Intercontinental Championship match on the show that kind of got lost in the shuffle with all the tag team title talk, but it was very good between Apollo Crews and Kevin Owens, no surprise there. Commander Aziz was banned from ringside, but he attacked Kevin Owens beforehand backstage. So that was Kevin Owens is out for losing. I thought it was a very good match. They got a decent amount of time. They work very well together. Apollo Crews won, I think, with like something on the apron, not a pop-up powerbomb, obviously. That would be Owens, but like he flipped him on the apron, rolled him into the ring or something along those lines, and he won with it. So Crews retained the championship in relatively clean fashion, which was pleasantly surprising. He walks back up the ramp. No Aziz interference, despite the stipulation, which would have been dumb. So I really liked this and how they went about it. Afterwards, Sami Zayn comes out, who we have not seen in about 2 or 3 weeks. Probably, when did they do the Intercontinental title Fatal 4-Way? 2 weeks ago? So probably since that. He comes out and attacks Kevin Owens. So clearly that feud is not over either, which is fine. They've been doing this feud for only a few months, and technically they've feuded since they both came into the company 5, 6, 7 years ago. But what more can you do? Like, they already had their 2 matches. Owens won at WrestleMania. He won the rematch on SmackDown by countout. They may have had another match. I don't think so, but they've had at least 2. Do you do a 3rd match at Hell in a Cell and have Sami Zayn win that? Like, again, this is the problem with the lack of depth on the SmackDown roster, where you're running into doing the same matches over and over. This one I can kind of understand them doing again just because they work so well together. It didn't really have a proper blow-off because they both kind of got involved in the Intercontinental title mix, and they both fell short of becoming champion. So I could see them doing a payoff to it, which is fine. But without a guy like Aleister Black on the roster who helps switch things up, and I guess you would have run into the inevitable Kevin Owens-Aleister Black feud again after we saw that last summer and it went nowhere for either guy. I don't know. I mean, it's just, not really sure what you do here. Yeah, I guess you have Kevin Owens win, but he's already lost to Roman Reigns. You turn him heel? I was hoping that Kevin Owens would reunite with Sami here, and Sami would come down to the ring, and I don't know what his motivation would be. That is still my hope for the endgame of all of this, that they turn Sami Zayn face, because they already have enough heels on SmackDown. I know they just released Aleister Black, but they still have Rollins, they have Roman, they have Apollo Crews, they have Sami Zayn and King Corbin. Edge, if he comes back. I mean, I guess they could bring him back as a face, but he was a heel when we last saw him, kind of, I guess, tweener or whatever. I would just turn Sami Zayn face and have him reunite with Kevin Owens. That's what I would do. So, speaking of tag teams, we get to the main event. SmackDown Tag Team titles on the line between the Mysterios and the Usos once more. This match was like half the time, the first match at the beginning of the show went twice the time as this, but it was still good for what it was. It had entertaining action. They worked well together. The Usos are just great. Rey and Dominik have turned into a really fun team together. So I was hoping they wouldn't do the title change here, which would have been incredibly rushed. I mean, I still feel that the Mysterios should have won the tag team titles on Father's Day, which they didn't do. Whatever. But now it appears why they didn't do that, because it looks like, unless they just came up with the plan on like this past week, which wouldn't surprise me knowing WWE. Very often, very, very, infrequently do they do long-term booking. So it's not like a month or 2 ago they said, oh, let's have them win the titles on this show, and then we'll have them, whatever. I still say they should have won the titles at WrestleMania in that 4-way we got on SmackDown instead of the dumb women's tag team turmoil match, which in retrospect was a complete waste, because one Italian Tamina did not win the belts the next night at WrestleMania, and a bunch of those women have since been released. I mean, Ruby Riot's gone. Lana's gone. And who was the other team? Oh, Billie Kay and Carmella. Like, literally 3 of the women in that match that were all involved in separate teams are all gone. 3 of their teams are gone now. So what was even the point of that match? They should have done the men's tag team title match at WrestleMania and had the Mysterios win in front of fans. That's still what I say, but whatever. This was a very good match. And it looks like at the pay-per-view, it's not going to be Jimmy and Roman, which is what I was expecting. I thought they would lose here. Roman would get pissed, go off on Jimmy. We get Jimmy and Roman at the pay-per-view. It doesn't look like they're going in that direction, at least not yet. So what happened instead? The Mysterios, or I think it was Dominik, was on the top rope. Roman Reigns runs in, and hits a Superman punch on Dominik. So he gets involved. Obviously, the Mysterios win by DQ. 2 non-finishes or 2 fluky finishes is bullshit. But so what this looks to set up is Roman Reigns, not against Jimmy, but maybe Rey Mysterio. Now, he did attack equally Dominik. He did attack Dominik an equal amount. It wasn't like he was solely focused on Rey, which would have made no sense anyway, because he hates both Mysterios. But maybe he injured Dominik to the point where Rey wants revenge, and he went after Rey too. So, honestly, I am all for that. I am freaking here for Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio. We have never, I don't think, ever seen that match one-on-one. So that's a fresh match. I've wanted to see Rey and Roman for a while now. I didn't think it would happen with Rey and Dominik being in the tag team scene. And obviously Rey's not going to win, nor should he. Roman Reigns is at his peak right now. There's no reason for him to win, especially when half of the tag team champions. But again, it prolongs the Roman reign another month. It's a good fresh match to do. It obviously should not be inside Hell in a Cell. That would be stupid. I don't know what they're doing inside Hell in a Cell. Probably Drew and Bobby. Honestly, I would make that the only Hell in a Cell match. Even Bianca and Bayley, for as long as that's lasted, does not feel like it's worthy of the Hell in a Cell stipulation. Maybe Cesaro and Rollins, but again, doesn't feel like it belongs inside the cell. We had Rollins on the show too, cutting a promo or doing an interview with Caleb Braxton about Cesaro. So they're still doing that, and they're probably going to have a third match on the pay-per-view. Again, the roster needs more friggin' depth, because what are you going to do when these feuds inevitably run up? We've already seen Owens and Roman. We've already seen Owens and Rollins. We've already seen Owens and Big E. Owens and Zayn. Or now Owens and Cruz, too, so I don't know. But, yeah, so what was I even getting at? Oh, yeah, Roman and Rey Mysterio, to me, makes the most sense. It's a fresh match. You could do it on Father's Day. Obviously, it's an easy win for Roman. Roman can kind of carry Rey to a great singles match. Not that Rey's not capable of a great singles match. But, again, he's not the Rey Mysterio of 5, 10, 15 years ago. So I think having a guy like Roman, who is the most compelling character in all of WWE right now, is not going to hurt. I remember the chemistry they showed in that awesome Survivor Series Elimination Tag Team match, and this was almost a decade ago, but back in 2013, that mid-spear out of nowhere to Rey Mysterio from Roman was great, and I think he won with that too. They definitely clashed in a few like Shield six-mans, and they always worked well together, so I'm all for Rey and Roman at the pay-per-view if that's what they're going for. I think that's the best possible match you can do. But yeah, that closed out the show. I thought it was a good show overall. Obviously, you take out the Roman stuff, and it's just not nearly as strong of a show. The Roman Reigns, Usos, Mysterio stuff really carried the show, which was great. I thoroughly enjoyed the Intercontinental Championship match. So it wasn't like this was a one storyline show or a one-match show. And technically, there were 2 tag team title matches, so it wouldn't have been a one-match show anyway because both bouts were good. But, I thoroughly enjoy the Intercontinental title stuff. I don't know where they're going with it. They're probably going to inevitably have to reunite or rekindle, rather, the Big E Apollo Crews feud, because what else do you do with either guy? I don't know, because that roster is so... They have a lot of talent on the roster. It's just not very deep beyond who they already have on the show. That's the problem. I just don't care about the Corbin Nakamura stuff. It's just they're trading wins in the stupid crown for no real reason, so it's hard to care. Bayley and Bianca did their thing, further the feud. That's fine. The Rollins interview was fine. Carmella Morgan was kind of throwaway, but it looks like they're building up Carmella for a future title opportunity. And Roman's promo was good too. So, a good show. Not a great show, I thought. Kind of some middling stuff in the middle there, but I thought it was a fairly solid show on the whole. You take away the Roman stuff, far weaker show, but hey, it's a much easier watch than Raw. I will say that literally every single week. I have yet to encounter a week in the last couple of months where Raw was stronger than SmackDown. That has not been the case for a while. It won't be for the foreseeable future for as long as Raw is being written by the same people, because the show's been terrible for well over a year now, probably longer, but it was before. Now it's just literally unbearable to watch. But anyway, SmackDown was good this week. Check it out. We will be back next Saturday with another audio review of the Blue Brand, so keep an eye out for that. Be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including hitting the bell button to be notified every time a new video goes up. The Talking Smack audio review should be up tomorrow as well, so keep an eye out for that, as well as a low-key review on Monday. Not review, rather, but a preview of the upcoming series premiere on Wednesday. So that should be going up on Monday as well, so stay tuned for that. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.